Opening in theaters this week is the superhero movie Madam Web, and here's my review. Outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Sony's been producing films with their Spider-Man rights that try to utilize the other characters from Peter Parker's Rogues Gallery. The results have been a mixed bag so far, with Morbius serving as the low point. Madam Web tries to adapt another one of these comic characters, but the movie ends up flat, and while there is some potential early on to do something fun with Cassandra Webb's ability at seeing into the future, it becomes a little too silly and absurd by the end. During the first half of Madam Web, the film is rather ordinary, but nothing too bad. That's largely a credit to Dakota Johnson, who does give the lead role a game try. While there's not a lot to her character on the page, outside of being a bit awkward and introverted, she does provide a bit of likability and even charm at times. She depicts the emotional distress Cassandra is feeling as she witnesses horrible events before they happen and tries to process this. The future visions initially start off annoying and disorienting, but the editing does calm down a bit, allowing the viewer to better absorb them. The film also successfully shows Cassandra thinking on her feet. When we get into the main plot with the villain, that's when Madam Web largely falls apart. There's nothing interesting about Ezekiel Sims, as he's largely a bore and never becomes as menacing as the filmmakers intend. When Cassandra encounters three teenage girls in danger, they only get a few scenes to bond, and the connection between them is rarely ever felt. While it's unclear which Spider-Man universe this is taking place in, the movie sure likes to remind the viewer of Madam Web's connection to the web crawler. The dialogue is completely unsubtle in how it nudges the audience to recognize certain elements relate to Spider-Man, and this becomes eye-rolling and distracting. The confusion of how this connects to the other movies across the multiverse does not help matters. The action is handled okay, but it's otherwise nothing much to write home about. The movie is set in 2003, and to the filmmaker's credit, it's not something they call much attention to outside of a few choice product placements here and there. Most of the dialogue is clunky, especially as it tries to explore the superpowers Cassandra becomes gifted with, and the attempts at sentiment are especially corny. And those excitedly waiting to hear a certain line about researching spiders in the Amazon may wind up disappointed. Madam Web is an underwhelming addition to this confusing universe of Spider-Man adjacent movies Sony is building. Dakota Johnson makes one engaged for a while as Cassandra tries to figure out what is going on, but even she ends up lost after a while into all the plot threads and additional underwritten characters. At a certain point, the silliness of the whole production gets to be a bit much, and the dialogue gets more and more ridiculous. So much in the movie also feels like setup for later potential films with these characters, but we barely get to know them in this one. Madam Web just winds up a weak and largely forgettable superhero movie.